Hey you guys, it's Karen, and I thought I would come and do another of these grief diaries. I think they're really useful for you guys and also for me. Like I said, it's great to talk and share things, and I will keep on doing them as long as anything changes. Like I almost didn't do this one because, you know, when I've thought about it, I thought, you know, is anything that much different to last time? But I feel like it is, and I had a surprising conversation with my husband yesterday that made me think about it. One of the things that's surprising me is that we're at I think we're at 7 weeks at the moment since it happened. And I still feel moments of disbelief. And I thought that that would have passed by now. Maybe that's naive of me because 7 weeks isn't very long, but I still have moments where I'm like, no, he's gone. Like, you can never see him again. He's gone. But where is he? You know, moments like that where I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. I don't understand the concept of death. Like, what's happened to him? Where has he gone? And, you know, so there's still moments of disbelief where I'll be like, I'll say to Kev, can you believe my dad's not here? And Kev says he hasn't come to that point yet because there's been no time when he would have seen him yet. Like, he would have seen him, he would have come over for dinner. Now that households are allowed to go in other people's houses, for sure we would have had my dad and Eve over for dinner. But, you know, there's been no situation where it's like, say Christmas, I think will be one, or the next time Kev's parents come over, we probably would have had them all over together and he would notice his absence then. But yeah, for me, there's still these moments of disbelief and of, I don't get it, you know, I don't understand. And then that still leads to the, well, what happened that day? What could I have done? Could I have done anything differently? I wonder if I'd have gone in that morning because he told me the day before he couldn't breathe very well. I should have, instead of filming that morning, I should have gone over and seen if he was okay. I think everybody goes through that. And what I said to Kev I would really like is a brain holiday. I would like my brain to take a holiday because what hasn't changed since it happened is that my brain will not switch off. Now, I'm that type of person anyway, where my brain never ever switches off. But I've managed to sleep okay since being on amitriptyline, which I was put on for bladder nerve pain and also my headaches. And that has made me no longer an insomniac. But as I said to you, I think I said this in the last video, I've just never had a full night's sleep. And what it is as soon as I'm in bed, my mind is just going over everything and thinking about him constantly, about some of them happy memories, you know, some of them experiences we had with them, some of them not so great, just anything and everything to do with him. And there was one time I was trying to sleep and it wasn't even at night. I normally have to sleep during the day because of my headaches. You know, they've got a little bit better lately, but there's still times where I'm like, oh, that's it, I'm going dizzy, my head's hurting, I need to lie down, I need to rest my neck because I know that makes it worse. And I just tend to sleep for anything from half an hour to 2 hours, and it generally improves it. And I've tried to do that a couple of times and I'm not able to. So I literally, Kev will tell me, go and lie down. I go and lie down, and then like 10 minutes later I get up and I'm like, I literally feel like I'm going to have a panic attack from all of the information in my head going on, you know. And this one particular time I sort of lay down and started thinking about Dad, and I was like, right, don't think about that, think about this other thing, whatever that was. And I kept trying to switch it to this other thing, you know, do that distraction thing. Don't think about that. Knock it out of your head, change it to the other thing. And it wasn't working. And I was like, I'm going to have to get up. This is driving me crazy. I need to actually get up and do something. So still at the moment, I don't seem to be able to relax and, you know, be calm and sleep well. So that's something that has continued on. Something that did happen, obviously I've been to see Eve an awful lot since my dad died, but that definitely reduced at the point where I, you know, sorted out all her finances, sorted out my dad's finances, sorted out bits and pieces from the house, got rid of most of his clothes, and, you know, done sort of the admin, if you like. Because you know, obviously there's been a lot going on with Watson, there's been a lot going on with my own health, and I needed to get back to YouTube, and there's lots of other things going on that we needed to do. And so I've sort of stepped back a bit, and I'm of course still going to visit her, but I said to my husband, I feel guilty, and I feel like I should be there all the time because she definitely would love to have more company, but I don't want to see her more than I saw my dad because that would make me feel even worse, you know. And I know that I would feel more the more I went over, the more I would feel that I needed to go over, if that made any sense. And she has got, like I said, we organised carers twice a day. She's got church people going in all through the week. There's all sorts going on. But I went to visit her just for a visit's sake, and, you know, was there for a couple of hours having a chat with her. And I was crying the whole time I was there, because driving into my dad's street just traumatises me still, and it has done every time I've gone over to Eve's. But normally when I've been going over, I've had so many things in my head that I need to talk through to her. I've had like a list of like, right, okay, do you know who your car insurer is? Do you know when your car tax is due? Do you know when, right, what's happening about the TV license? Do you know if Dad had a credit card? You know, there's been so many things on my mind that I've had a distraction of thinking of those things. Whereas the time that I just saw her, it was just last week, where I just went for a visit, there wasn't anything that I needed to talk to her about, and it was just like, oh. And so my stomach was in knots as I pull up, because like I said, I could just remember pulling up and seeing the paramedics and knowing, you know, that he's gone. I know he's gone because the paramedics wouldn't be standing outside with the ambulance and just leaning against it if he wasn't gone. And so that's all I can think about just now. And then every other time I've gone into the flat, and we might have had a few tears when we've talked about him, but most of the time we've been talking about admin type things, like I said, things that need to be sorted. But this time, I can't even remember what we were talking about. It wasn't what we were talking about. It was just me sitting in his flat, and I was looking around and going, every memory I have of that flat for the last however many years it is, 12, 13, maybe more, is going to visit my dad, mostly on his own, because, you know, this is the only time somebody else has lived there. And he's not there, and it really, really hits me when I go into that flat, and especially because it's the home that we made, my husband and I made for him. Like I said, we put the carpets down, the floors down, etc., etc., and he loved it so much. He's said he's never felt so at home. He loved that flat. It had everything that he needed. He made it his own. You know, he didn't want to give it up. That's why he didn't move to Derby when he met Eve. He loved Edinburgh. He loved being near me, and that was a home we made for him, you know. And so it was really difficult. It's really difficult to go and visit her, and I want to go and visit her again this week, but like I said, it's a struggle for me. And I think I'm at a point where, I think I said to you guys last time, that I feel like I'm pushing it down a lot of the time, pushing down upset. Like right now, if I keep thinking about it or I switched off, I could sit and cry my eyes out. But I could sit and cry my eyes out daily, all day, every day, and I know that that is not going to get me anywhere. You do need to let it out, but you can't completely dwell on it forever. And I've been thinking about my dad's flat, because Eve doesn't know if she's going to stay in Edinburgh still. She's still in that period of deciding, you know. She's talked about it with her pastor, and he said, you know, don't make any rash decisions, think about it for a couple of months. And so she doesn't know if she's going to stay here or move back to Derby with her family. And I've been thinking, you know, is there anything else I need to get out of Dad's flat? Because the only thing there is left really of his that was personal to him is they've got stuff underneath their bed in boxes, so it may contain some of his clothes. Like she was saying, they put their winter clothes under the bed, everything else was in the wardrobe, then they would switch it round. Apart from that, there is a lot of things in the house that are his, if you like there's records, old records. But I actually don't want any of them. I feel like I want to, and I know that Eve will never watch this, so it's fine, but I feel like I want to set fire to his flat, and for that not to exist. And I'm feeling a bit that way with, you know, like I put his ashes in the cupboard. I've turned down the photo of me that says Daddy's Girl that I had bought him in a frame. I feel like if I keep on having these constant reminders at this time, then I'm just going to break and never be able to move forward. I'm noticing how handsy I am. I'm very like using my hands a lot, aren't I? And so I don't know whether to, it's one of those things where I think, will I regret it? You know, later on, will I go, I wish I'd have gone through his old records? No, I'm not going to ever play a record. I'm never going to buy a record player and buy a record. I know the tunes off by heart. I know the records that he's got, and I know the ones that I like, and I've probably got them somewhere, and I could get them, you know. I don't want to sit looking through old records. I'm kind of at that point where I just want to, obviously I don't want to forget that Dad was around, but I just want to sort of wipe that part out, his flat out, you know, and go, that's it. Oh my God. Sorry about that. That was my boys coming in, and it gave me a fright. I wasn't expecting him this quick. I wasn't expecting him back till at least 11. It's 11:15. what was I saying? Yeah, about getting rid of Dad's stuff. I want there to be a closure to it. I suppose that's what I'm thinking. And as long as all of Dad's belongings are still in the flat with Eve, it will be something that I'm sure if she decides to move to Derby, then obviously her family will need to come up and pack her up and then figure out what to do with everything that's left in the flat, because Dad left everything to her, and so I've asked her and she wants everything, and we haven't yet had, we haven't sat and gone through every single thing in the house. It's very, very difficult because she's there. I don't know what's hers and what's his. But I want that to be kind of done, but I don't want to go over and sort of go to her, right, okay, we need to sort everything out of Dad's and get rid of it. But I don't want her to leave it behind for me when she goes. I don't know whether I'm even making sense. Like I said, I almost want there to be an end point, and I've got the things of my dad's that I wanted. I've got his shirt, and I've given the family things that they wanted, and records and things just don't mean anything to me. But there's this slight wonder, will I regret it? Whereas if I got rid of them now, they'd be gone, and I wouldn't have that question in my mind. One other thing that I noticed is that, and I think I already said this to you last time, that things that I asked people to be really careful with their comments, because things that would normally I could take, I would find upsetting. Like, I feel like if somebody said your hair looks shit, I would be crying my eyes out. Not quite that sensitive, but the whole Watson situation with his health has really upset me. It upset me when he got the diagnosis of inflammatory bowel disease, which was only a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, because I couldn't phone my dad and say he's in hospital, which is what I normally do. I couldn't then update my dad that it's not cancer, it's inflammatory bowel disease, and say how great that was. But it wasn't even that. It was just everything feels more upsetting, and there wasn't any great treatment for him, and he went downhill after having the surgery. He stopped eating, he was vomiting, his digestion was awful, and I just felt so upset. I was like, we've put Watson through all of this surgery and not eating for 3 days and having different scans and sedations and general anaesthetic and all of that to get a diagnosis that is doing us no good, because there's nothing else we can do for him except this horrendous medication which they're talking about putting him on. Thankfully he's improved since and is now eating, etc, etc. But I just felt so distraught by it, and I almost felt bereaved again. I thought, this is making me feel as upset as I was a week or two after Dad. Everything feels deeper. I feel like I feel things even deeper than I did before. And now, of course, we have this lump on Watson's chest, and it's not looking good, but I'm just clinging on to the small hope that it's actually just a lipoma, like a little fatty lump. Anyway, so that's where I am with the grief. But I was speaking to Kev yesterday, and I said to Kev last night, because he said to me, we were having a joke, because I can't remember what I was showing him in the cupboard. I was seeing if he could find the box for my old iPhone, and it was on the top shelf that I couldn't reach, and he was pretending to push me in the cupboard, and he went, "You're too manic, I'm going to leave you in the cupboard," And later on we were talking about it, and I said to him, I feel like I've been almost back to myself for outward purposes, or to Kev's purposes, because if I've done any crying, it's been when I'm in my car or when Kev's not been here. As always, pretty much. There are occasions, obviously, where I'm crying and he's here, because you can't help that, but I thought that to him I would seem normal now, and I said to him, but I'm pretty much back to usual, am I not? And he said, no, there's mania going on. And I was like, really? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, there's just constant either really high or really low, and there's definitely mania going on. And I was like, oh, I didn't think that was the case, And he said, yeah, definitely, you're not back to yourself yet. And I was like, oh, do you think I need therapy then? Or, do you think I need to contact Cruz? Because I don't have any issues with getting therapy if I think I need it, or even if Kev thinks I need it. But he said, no, I don't think that. He said, I'm saying I don't think that you are back to normal. I don't think you should expect yourself to be back to normal for external appearances. Not appearances, I don't mean I'm covering up anything, but do you know what I mean? For all intents and purposes, I'm back to normal. I'm doing YouTube, I'm playing with Watson, I'm laughing at things. And trying to sleep. So I thought that was interesting that his view was completely different, and I think that shows that you can't hide grief. You can think you're over it, you can think that you're doing a good job of coping with it, you can try and shut things out, like I said, by turning that picture down, and his ashes are in the cupboard, etc. But it doesn't go away, it is there, and so you do need to continue to process it, and you can't rush it. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I am going to love you and leave you now, but what I thought I would do next, and I don't know, what people will think about this, let me know. But I thought I would come and tell you my dad's prison stories, because although that's not a great memory, I've shared the memories to me that are great, but there's a lot of memories with my dad that are very upsetting, because my dad had a very dramatic life, shall we say, and he was very troubled, and like I said, he had mental health issues. And I've shared a lot of the really important memories that were good to me, like sitting watching Friends with him when I moved back in with him, things like that. I've shared them on Instagram, I suppose. But I will do a video at some point, you know, a sort of memorial type thing, I think. I'm not really sure how I would do that, but the prison stories aren't necessarily like a fuzzy, warm feeling memory, but they are something that always fascinated me. And he always was honest with me, and he always told me about everything that went on in prison. And I always found it amazing. And I used to think, wow, my dad is really strong. Like, how could he get through that? And how could he, like, he's telling me that. He told us one of the stories in the car, and I was in the back seat and Kev was in the front seat, and my dad told me this story. And I kind of looked at Kev, and Kev was like, oh my God. Like, you know, he'd never experienced anything like that. And I just think that some of the stories are fascinating, and it's like looking at it from the other side, you know, what they actually experience when they're in prison. And yeah, like I said, I thought I would do a video telling you some of the prison stories that he told me, and some of them are really touching. You know, he has, in fact, one of them's a bit spooky. He has a best friend who it looks like has passed away potentially on the same day as my dad, and they met in prison as in their teens. So yeah, that's what I thought I'd do next. I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you so much for your continued support. There will obviously at some point be back on this channel some videos on the keto diet and how I'm doing with that. I was going to say health. Yeah, on the keto diet, if I'm still doing it. I started the keto diet a week ago, and I've lost 4 pounds this week. So, but I had gone back up to what I was before, so I'm not really that farther forward, but I will give you an update on how my weight loss, that's what I was meaning, how weight loss is going if I continue to lose. Yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.